Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart. You're watching Growing Older Gay. This is part 9 of our 10-part series, Surviving Anti-LGBT Politics. And what we're talking today is action. There's a lot of people out there that are afraid of what's going on. They have fear, they have anxiety. And something I heard recently on a podcast, and so I'm taking the quote, is that the best antidote for anxiety is action. So action, that's what we're talking about today. Because the fight is on. For the next at least 3 or 4 years, we are fighting for our lives like never before. What we're facing as the LGBTQIA plus community right now is every bit as large, as powerful, if not more in some ways, than the AIDS crisis was back in the 1980s and the 1990s. People were dying back then. The government not only didn't do anything about it, but they were laughing at it. It took fighting and protests and work on the legislative and legal fronts to get something done, to get where we're at today. What's more dangerous about now is it's not just gay men who are dying of AIDS, it's everybody in the rainbow kaleidoscope of the LGBTQIA plus community. All of us have a target on our back. And yes, trans people are the ones that are in the headlines right now. They are the ones being purged right now to the federal government just this week. They are the ones that are the ones that they're using for all of the hate mongering, all of that. Well, believe me, when it comes to these people in Washington, these people with the red hats, all of us are in the same boat. They aren't just after them. They're not just after the trans people. They're after gay cisgender men, gay cisgender women, bisexual people, anybody that represents anything other than white heteronormative Christians. We all have a target on our back, and not just in our community. Women, people of color, immigrants, anyone that's not white and Christian. You have a target. We have a target on our back. So we all have to fight together. We have to, in many cases, get together and fight for a single cause, which is freedom, rights, and our way of life, democracy. And nobody likes to fight. Nobody wants to get up off their couch and fight. I have never been to a major, large-scale protest. It scares the crap out of me, but I'm going to have to do that. If you have talents, if you have a platform, if you have some kind of maybe you're part of an organization, there's something you can do somewhere. If you have a platform, I'm doing this, I'm standing here, I'm trying to communicate and get the word out. If you're a lawyer, go donate your time someplace, help. If you are in an organization that serves the community, that's a way to help on the local level. So without further ado, I'm going to get into just a few areas, a few suggestive areas that you can be of help, that you can take action and help reduce your anxiety and really help all of us out in fighting the good fight. The first thing is act locally. Locally. There's very little that any single individual can do to affect the national landscape. We can vote, we can put our messages and our memes out there on social media, but acting locally in a tangible way is the most effective thing that we can do, because there's local politics going on, there are local protests going on, and most importantly, there are local organizations that are being hurt by what's going on, and they need your help. They need our help. So there are a lot of things that we can do locally. We can join an organization. We can volunteer our time. We can really get tight with our local politicians and make sure that what's going on in our own hometown is not being allowed to go crazy, just like what's happening in the national landscape. Because what's happening in the national landscape of politics can sometimes give a permission structure to your local politicians to start doing things too. A lot of what's going on against the trans people, book burnings, all sorts of things like that, laws to start encroaching upon our rights and our freedoms are happening at the local level. That means that your local cities, your counties, and your states are the ones that are doing that. So don't lose sight of the fact that, well, yes, Washington's doing this, that, and the other thing. Keep an eye on what your state house is doing. Keep an eye on what your city's doing. Be at city council meetings. Be at your local representatives' doorsteps and letting them know that you need them to fight for you and that they need your vote next time around. That's acting locally. Go to a protest. That's another thing. There are a lot of protests going on right now. And while I don't advocate for violent protests and the burning of cars in the streets and all these things that we've seen, that's what I grew up with on the news, is what protests look like. And sometimes they do. But we need to do peaceful protests. We need to stand up. We need to show up in numbers, whether it's in our local communities. Sometimes we can go to Washington and do a big one there. But we need to stand up and be counted. That's the bottom line. I'm going to have to go to protest. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to. My friends are doing it, and they're happening. It's time for me to get involved and walk my talk. The next one, and this is big, you need to be getting in your elected representatives' faces, not only locally, but nationally. I have 2 senators, and I have 1 congressman. Most of us living in the United States have that makeup. The difference is some of us live in blue states, some of us live in red states, and some of us live in purple states. And there's really sort of a different approach that you need to take in each one of those cases. I happen to live in a purple state. And so my senator, my other senator, and my congressman happen to be Democrats. And so they're already on my side. They're already fighting my fight. And so if you live in a blue state, or you have representatives that are in the blue column, what you need to be doing is staying in contact with them. Don't just assume that they're doing the right thing all the time. Support them. Let them know that you can volunteer to help them in some way, shape, or form. Send them letters. Call them. Call their offices. Let them know you support what they're doing and that you advocate for them to fight harder. A lot of times, in my case, I have 1 brand new senator, 1 brand new congressperson. They're plenty capable, but they're new. They just showed up in Washington just this last month or 2. So they need to know that the voters are supporting what they want to do. They may have some big ideas on what they want to do. Some opportunities might present themselves to them, but they might be going, I'm not sure if my constituents will be on board with that. Let them know you're on board with that. Tell them they can go all the way to the end of the earth for you, and you will back them up. That's what you need to do if you're in a blue area where these people are already on your side. Back them up, let them know they can fight as hard as they want, and you'll be there for them, not only when it comes to re-election time, but maybe in the meantime too. Now, if you live in a purple zone, meaning that maybe you're in a swing state, maybe you're in a swing district, maybe you have, both red and blue in your representatives. That's when you really need to start turning the heat up. You need to let them know, and if you're angry with them, maybe they're not doing the job. You need to let them know that you can be a part of the next blue wave. You need to let them know they need to fight for you, and if they're not fighting for you, you need to explain to them in very simple terms, not threatening ones. Explain to them in simple terms what you need them to be advocating for and why. You need to explain who you are, and you need to explain why what's happening is wrong and how it's affecting you and your family. Maybe it's just your rights, maybe it's your business, whatever the case may be. If you're in a purple zone, you need to turn up the heat and let them know that they better do the job, or, they might not happen themselves later. Purple states, those are the areas that you have the most power, because those constituents are usually middle of the ground, or they wouldn't have gotten elected in the first place. They're not too far here, they're not too far there. They're trying to drive down the middle, and it's up to you to show them where that middle is. And the further you push one way or the other, you move the middle. All right, so what if you're in a red state, a red county, a red city, and you feel hopeless? You have power too. Show up to town halls. This is really where you need to turn up the heat. You need to show up to those town halls where your senators and your congressmen are coming to town and thinking that they're going to go, I've been out fighting for the Doge, and I've been doing the good stuff and eliminating this and firing those people and getting rid of the other people that don't belong here and doing all of these things. And you need to be in their face telling them, no, you're doing the wrong thing, and I am not standing for that. If you want to be reelected again, you had better shape up and start standing up for what's going on, because there are a lot of Republicans right now in various parts of the country that are going to their town halls this week, and they are getting sandblasted. They are getting hit in the face with anger. And it's not just Democrats showing up. It is Republicans showing up to their town halls that are angry. And so we have momentum on our side to really start pushing some of the reddest of the red states and reddest counties and reddest districts a little more away from the right, because they're starting to see the uprise and the worry out there. And a lot of those people have to be reelected in 2 years. So where you might think you have the least amount of power is where you actually have the most. It's incumbent upon those of us that live in the reddest of areas to fight the hardest on the local level. That means, just to recap, go to those town hall meetings, write your senators, write your congressmen, let them know you are steamed, and pretty much the same thing you'd say to anybody, but let them know what's going on in your life and why and what's happening to you. And tell them it's not right. And I know this sounds a little Pollyannish. Oh, just tell them you're not happy and everything's going to change. No, what's going to change is having numbers of us doing that. Everybody has to do something. I just wrote my senators and my congressperson just last night. Before I was going to get in front of the camera today, I wanted to make sure that I'm walking my talk. And as I said, I have blue people that I write to. So they got my support. They got my telling them I've got their back. And I'm willing to donate money and time when the time comes to help them out, even though they're pretty powerless right now. But I need them to know that when those opportunities come, that I'm willing to support whatever it is they do, even if it means shutting the whole thing down until their voice is heard. It's going to take a lot of these kind of guerrilla warfare tactics on our behalf. It's going to take work on our behalf. It's going to take fighting on our behalf. Action is the best antidote for anxiety. The best antidote for anxiety is action. We need to take action like we've never taken before. And if you've never taken action before, try it. It's empowering. I implore you, this is the time to fight. This is the time to get out in the streets. This is the time to make a sign, hold it up loud, and let people know who you are, where you're at, and why you matter. It is. So there you go. That's all there is to it. Beating the drum. I love all of you people. I do. I love you all so much. That's why I'm taking the time to make these videos and sort of share what's on my heart and share what I've learned over the years watching politics and what can change, what can affect change. But know that I love you and that I want all of us to come out of this on the other side in a stronger position, and a position that's a little bit more safe for our future generations. And that's all there is to it. So this is number 9 of a 10-part series. We have number 10 coming next week. It may already be up right there on our playlist, the entire playlist right there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel right there. Stay informed of everything we do. Either way, stay tuned.